I'm Lisanne Miller with W, Cushing and Company, and this is August's Third Thursday with Lisanne. This is in conjunction with Rug Cooking Magazine, and this month's going to be a little different. But first, I hope that you have your magazine, your latest Rug Cooking Magazine. In a few days, celebrations will be released, and I hope that you all are coming to Rug Cooking Week at Souder Village, and we hope to see you there. Please stop by our booth. Great issue, and I know you'll enjoy the Celebrations magazine. What we're going to talk about today is exploring an older hooked rug and really taking a close look at it. It may appear to be nothing special or just another floral or just another set of scrolls, but I think sometimes we overlook a lot of what our predecessors, those women that hooked well before us and are long gone, what they left for us to explore. So we call this pattern the lost scroll. It's the lost scroll because it was a lost scroll. We now have this, but the center, this was done many, many times. And we believe this rug was hooked in the 40s or 50s. You just never really know. But because of the way that it is bound, that's the first thing. Yes, it is the old burlap. The burlap was turned under and it was hooked. They hooked through 2 layers of burlap. No binding tape, no nothing, which is why you have these edges that kind of fray out. But it does, when the edges fray out, it gives you a good idea of the material that they used. This was not, this was wool, but it just gives you an idea of the quality of what it was. It was clothing. We can tell by the feel that it was clothing. So, the lost scrolls. The first thing that we noticed with this pattern is it was supposed to be just the scrolls, nothing in the center. So this was added to the center of it, the floral. And a lot of pieces were married in that way. This floral was not really centered and was a little overpowering, but it was probably what the rug hooker wanted. Normally, you could put your initials in there or a floral that fit a little bit better. And the floral was done. It was a lot brighter in its heyday, as you can tell. And the floral was hooked very nicely. It was hooked with nylons. It was hooked with wool. It was done in a nice way, outlined, the depth in here. But she also noticed that she wanted to step out her background, and this shows it. I'll show it on the front. Whether this is what she had in her stash or she had a plan, we're not sure. This is why you need to document your rugs. There is a golden glow that comes around. Then she went to this light wool. This light wool, because it is local, it was milled at a local mill in New England. We see it all the time in the rugs from here. It's hard to duplicate. If you have an old rug, we can't even dye to match it. It was a signature wool of one of the mills. And then again, it was outlined again with that. So she created that echo effect. And she did that for a reason. She did it for a reason from the border. But as you can see, her colors were very vibrant. They have faded, but they haven't faded that much. You can still see the beauty of it. You can still see the colors. It's just a beautiful floral that she put in here, or somebody did. But let's look at these lost scrolls. They tell a tale, and I love the tale that they tell. Her background, of course, was black. It could have been navy. There is some navy mixed in. But watch what she did. In order to make this scroll show up, because she has gone from a light background to a dark background. And I believe that this was done, then this was put in. So watch my finger. Look at this line of dark green, okay? And then there's a line of black that just dips in from the border, then another of dark green. And not all the same dark green. What did she do? She cradled the scroll because she had to make the scroll somewhat predominant. She did not shade it, and I'll tell you why she didn't in a minute. But she didn't shade the scroll, so she had to make it cup. That line, and she did it in every one of them, okay, made it cup and made the corner. Very ingenious. Having the border dip in, beautiful. Then what she did was she put in a purple-red line. And normally this would have been predominant, it would have been a little too much, but you can see if you follow here, she did the purple line down the center and went into each of these elements of the scroll. She did that as a subtle way of showing you how it went. You almost don't see it. I am going to flip it so you can see it in here, and you can see how she went into each of these. Okay? Very ingenious. And so she did not want to shade because her scroll is hooked in, voila, vintage paisley. The fill in here is all vintage paisley. It is cut in about a 4 cut. It could have been cut in a 5. It was most likely hand cut because it's not all even. The beauty and the mystery of this, it does not shed. It is not shedding, it did not shed, it did not wear. She might have folded it, which is what I do to tuck it in, but this is all hooked. Every one of these scrolls is hooked in a vintage paisley. It could be this one, it could be another one. She could have washed it to tighten it, dry it on the line. Not really sure, but there is no fraying. So for those of you that don't want to hook with paisley because you feel it frays, take a second look. It was probably cut and folded. It could have been washed. There are options here. So she did her lead line. Okay, she did the cupping, she did her internal lead line, and then she took a lighter red and she just outlined the whole thing. Normally would be a little bit like a coloring book of an outline, but in this case, it really makes the scroll glow from the border background. Ingenious. Then she came in, and she did tip every once in a while. She tipped in red. She tipped in red. Just a little bit, but she did it. Probably was afraid to do it too much, but she did do that. Then the filigree. Now the filigree softens the scroll. Whether she did it because she didn't want the background, didn't want that much background, did she want more of the filigree to show, to soften it, not really sure. But she took the same dark green and she made the filigree. She made them all. She made little hearts there. Then she filled them in with the paisley. The beauty of this is she wasn't concerned it was the same paisley. This is a little darker than this. This is a little darker than that. It didn't matter. It was the same tone, the same look. Now, if she had come with her lighter background, this wool from the New England Woolen Mill, it would not have looked very nice. It would have been too harsh, which is why she put this in and then also echoed around the flowers to make the lily stand out as well. So she came up, and this really creates a beautiful corner. Beautiful corner. It's striking. The colors are beautiful. Again, the green outline sets it up. But if you notice also in here, she didn't make it harsh. She didn't want a harsh line. She just did it very unevenly. So it faded into the white, faded back into the yellow. The lilies come out, the cow lilies come out. The white comes out, the yellow comes out. Everything looks great. She did an awesome job with it. And when you look at it together, and we're going to try and move this down a little bit, okay? She did an awesome job of tipping, okay, different tips, bringing this up to create another motif. By making the cradle, she created another little motif instead of making this just flat. You can see the darker tips. And when she had the double, which is on each side in the center together, she did do a light and dark. And I don't know why, but she did. So she did a dark side, a light side, tipped the dark side with the lights, or she just ran out and that's the way it looks. But she must have liked it because she recreated it on the other side. It just looks wonderful together. It gives a very nice look. Sometimes because of the paisley, you can see more of this medium value or lighter value, but it is a medium value. And it really does make you think, is this a paisley? Is this a plaid? What is it? And it is a paisley. We have pulled a little bit of the pieces out and put them back in, and it's just gorgeous. But it's a simple way to do it. The scrolls are wonderful. Here's the corner. And again, she tipped where she wanted. They're not all the same. This corner, they just look beautiful. And it really frameworks the entire rug. She did an excellent job with it. And she went in such a way that you don't miss anything, which is unusual. Sometimes you'd pass over the scrolls, sometimes you'd pass over some of the flowers, but you do notice both in this. So, the paisleys that she hooked with were vintage. They are vintage paisleys. There is some little hairs here. But she used, and I do believe she used, when she cut. So when you cut a paisley really small, what you have to worry about is the fraying. But when you cut it small and hook it, you do get that jewel tone. And of course, there's many different colors of paisleys. Sometimes you'll get a pop of blue. You know, did she treat these scrolls like paisleys, which is why she wanted to hook it in paisley? We'll never know. But you can, when you hook the noodle, you can fold it over. And they can appear to be quite hairy. Here's what we call a key. This is the key, or and some people call it the border, but it is the key to the paisley, where they started and they would loom off of these colors. And as you can tell, just from this, it's very, very hairy. And that's okay. You can wash it again if you so choose to tighten it up and felt it almost. And then you would fold it over. So if you wanted to hook in a 4, you might cut in a 6 or an 8. And watch what happens when you fold it over, as I'm going to do right here. So I'm going to fold it over, and then when I hook it, and when I go to hook this, just like this, my ends are tucked in. There's not too much fraying. So that's a good way, if you love the impact of a vintage paisley, to get it. And it does work quite well. Hers look to be rolled. They look to be folded over, or as I call them, rolled. You don't want to really roll them because then you get a lot of bulk, which is something you really do not need. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to wash it, to tighten it if you're going to use it, if it's already a cutter. You can do anything like that. Some paisleys are more loosely woven than others. Another one, this is another key from another piece, and it's much more tightly woven. And this would make a great rug hooking piece because it is more tightly woven. And you see this is more brown and gold. So you know, scrunch your paisley pieces or your paisleys just like you would a piece of wool to see how they would hook and if it would work where you want it to hook. So this is a little tighter woven. You can see these lines across, the weave lines across, and you cut with the lines, not against them. Against them you have a mess. All you have is a shredded mess. So you cut this way with the lines and it works really well. Paisley is wool. Paisley is a piece of wool. So if it is a good paisley, and watch what I'm going to do, it should tear just like your regular rug hooking wool. And if it tears just like your rug hooking wool, you're in good shape because this is 100% wool. And then you can decide. So here's your torn edge. You know it's straight. Then you can run them through your cutter. But I would make sure that I fold it under because you can see the hairs already starting to fly. A lot of fun. If you need fringe for a scarf, you can cut this off, hook it, pull up the fringe, and you have beautiful fringe for a scarf for a winter scene. So don't be afraid to use the paisleys. You can see how well they've lasted. You can see that they're just an awesome, awesome tool to work with. They're in a plethora of colors, from purples to blues to browns to oranges to reds. But make sure that you look at it, you test it, and when you do hook it, fold it. And as you can see, these are all nicely folded, and it does make a beautiful, beautiful hooked wool. Some paisleys, some of this, and some of the black in here is from the center, and I want to mention that. This is wool. It's not that the wool stops here. The wool does not stop here. This is all wool. This all can be cut. This all can be used. It does not fray. It's a little thinner than what we're used to today, but it is in her border. When some of these were fraying out and we took a sample, it was an odd color and an odd texture, but she did use the center black, and of course that's what they did, and a lot of rug hookers do. You use what you have. So she intermixed this black with other wools and hooked with that. Never discount the center of a rug, whether it's red, whether it's black, whether it's cream. This is 100% wool. Don't discard it. Use it. You can wash it again. Like I said with the paisley, it will tighten up. But don't discard. This is all usable wool. It has a little bit of a sheen. It's a little blue-black. And as you can tell, it does hook beautifully. So, these are the secrets that the Lost Scroll has. It's a wonderful rug to hook. It's a lot of fun. This center we do not have. The Lost Scroll is usually done with just a plain center, or we have found one floral center that does work with a lot of roses and leaves in it. So, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed exploring this rug. I hope if you have older rugs that you take the time to explore them, take a good look at them, look at what was used, look at the back, see how the rug hooker put the colors together. Skill level doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's how it was done, and that it has a story. Every rug has a story to tell. So until September, I hope to see all of you at Rug Hooking Week in Sauter Village, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.